every flower that exists. I love the beautiful flowers and everything. And this month we've been talking about April showers and water, water everywhere, water in places where we don't want water to be. And today we're going outside to talk about water pooling up against our house, water, and the things we can do in from a landscaping perspective that helps you to flush water away from the house instead of creating scenarios where it pulls up against it. Today, my guest is Richard. Richard, please introduce yourself.
Hello, how are you? My name is Richard Thompson from Priority Landscaping.
Yes, give them your telephone number and how they can reach you.
Okay. My number is 443-465-4951.
Yeah, and so today we're talking about landscaping and what we can do in the spring because in April, traditionally, there is a lot of water. And how do we create a landscaping situation that allows water, that allows our house to stay protected and keeps water from pooling up against our house?
Okay. Well, the first thing, because spring, and then winter winds and things, it's important to clean up all the leaves around your house because leaves can pull up water and harbor the water, funguses and things like that that can get into the home. So it's important to clean the leaves around the house, rake out the gardens, weeding and any debris, and then and which very important is to mulch, because the mulching, because the soil can be eroded through the year. So if it's mulched, it sort of holds the water and keeps it from running into the garden. So it's important to do that. And any basement areas or cellar ways and where there's drains in the bottom, it's important to clean those out.
How do you know if there is disease in the soil?
Well, first thing it's hard to really detect that unless you do sort of take the soil and get it tested. That can cost a little bit of money and time. I wouldn't worry too much about the disease in the soil. The thing is with leaves and debris on top, that harbors funguses, and then that can get into the soil. As long as you keep your gardens clean of debris, then you're going to eliminate any kind of disease getting into the soil.
The reason why I asked is because on the other side of my house where the azalea bush is, there is like white streaks in the soil.
Oh, okay. That's a fungus. So that needs to be raked out and cleaned out. And one thing that you could do if you have that kind of problem, because that can get into the roots of the azalea and cause a root rot. And then you'd have to go through costly applications of it's a systemic insecticide that is forced through a tube and pressure into the roots of the plant. It's called a drench, and then it can help with root funguses and things like that. As long as you rake your gardens out, that's good. And a sort of a way to take care of that is to get a systemic fungicide at your garden store and mix it up according to the directions and water your plants down with that. And that's also helpful to keep root rot and any kind of insects away from the plants.
So if you have that, how does that affect the way water flows through, or how does that affect the way water may sit up against your house?
Okay, well, that's what I explained as far as cleaning out is cleaning the leaves away from the house, and they hold water. And if the garden's full of debris, then when it rains, that debris can be pushed and flushed against the house. So it's important to make sure you clean the beds out, the gardens, and create positive drainage. Make sure you have your garden a little bit higher in the back than the front, and that's positive drainage. And if you need to bring soil in, that might be necessary. And then after that's done, grade it off. Then it's important to mulch and notching the gardens and cutting an edge in it so that when it rains, the water is sort of going into the edge instead of flushing right into the gardens and up against the house. So it's important to create positive drainage and also mulching the gardens and then cleaning debris.
Oh, so let's talk about the incline. We're going outside. Hold on. Okay, so the incline, which is I kind of knew, but I wasn't sure when they say to create like, what is it, like a 20-degree incline so that the water runs down.
Mhm.
And
That's your positive drainage, yes.
right, that's the positive drainage. And because when you think about, I don't know, from when you're on a farm and you planting crops, the land is flat, mainly because you
Yeah.
want the water to soak down. But when you're doing a garden against your house, you want the drainage. See, this is me. See me?
Yes. Mhm.
You want the water to rain to see the slope in my front yard. Now I'm
Yes.
creating the slope, but you want the water to drain down toward the gutters so that it rains down into the rain gutters along the street and away from the house. And it's pretty much the same way, pretty much for everybody on my block. The slope of the stuff across the street. See, the slope on the yard rains this way. But see the gutter up there?
Yes.
When the storm, it fell down. And I just moved my rain bucket underneath so it would catch the water until I get someone over here to fix it. But your gutters are really important because they take the water off of the roof and keep it from landing down against the house and roll that out into the street as well, right?
Right. Yes, and it's important to clean out the gutters and make sure that they don't have leaf debris in there, because if that builds up, the water is going to build up and it can actually sometimes roll back and get under the eaves and rot out your soffit area. So it's important to clean out and make sure your gutters are flowing properly.
But this is what I created on my house. See, it actually slopes both ways. Slopes in the front and to the side. That's that azalea bush. I've been chopping on it because I kind of figured there was some kind of disease on it. See that leaf? See that right there? And I was concerned that it was going to infect everything else around it. But I've been kind of keeping it at bay. I don't really know what I'm doing.
It's important to trim out any dead wood, because a dead wood can harbor funguses, which can sort of migrate and leach back into the main stem and through the cambium of the plant. So it's important to limb out and also clean out any dead foliage in there, so sunlight will be allowed in, because the dead foliage is keeping sunlight in. So once you remove all that, then the dormant buds will be activated and then they'll start growing, and then you'll thicken up the shrub. And it's also important to make sure that you don't have any lace bugs or any kind of mites on them, and you can use a systemic spray for that. There's a lot of different things.
So I've been working on this project of mine for actually since last year, Richard, when we talked.
It's a work in progress.
It has really come along, and I put the rocks on the outside. Now I use these rocks were given to me, but I use rocks on the outside. Why are using mulch and rocks on the edge of areas where there's going to be water drain on? Why is that important?
Well, it's important just so that you don't have anything rolling back, into the house. And also the mulch does absorb some water. So that's a good thing too. It's like a sponge. So as long as you have your positive drainage away from the house and also positive drainage away from your patio areas or walkways, then you should be in good shape. And also mulching, it's just aesthetically pretty to look at, and it trims up and gives a nice garden sense, design sense appearance. You could have grass up to the edge, or you could have a little mulched edge around it and plant flowers to beautify. So there's a myriad of different things that you can do.
And see, I have it over here up against the house. I guess to pull water away. And you see this right here. This is a dumb cane. It is
Right.
growing down in the ground in the area that was cut off in front of my basement window. I have cut it off, I don't know, 20 times, and it still grows back. And then I came to the conclusion that maybe it is absorbing all of the water that would be running into my basement.
Well, it's going to absorb some water, but it's not going to absorb the degree of water that if you did have a hard downpour that would get in your basement. It's not using that much water. I mean, it absorbs just the surrounding soil area from water, but any large amounts in there, it's not going to absorb all of it because that with gravity and everything is going to be seeping down to the ground, can get down into the foundation, and if you have any cracks down there, then you're going to have a problem with a wet wall or a wet basement. So it's
So,
important to
so
keep
yeah,
those
so let's
kind of
talk
areas
about
clean.
yeah, let's talk about foliage too close to the house, like this rose bush that will not seem to die. And it doesn't matter how much I have chopped this thing down. I've tried to move it, and it comes back even stronger every year.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
think it
fo-
loves you.
yeah, foliage too close to the house can, as he said, can get down into the plumbing, can get down into a lot of aspects, and you need to keep foliage off of the house, and it also can push water up against the house.
It can.
Off of the go right ahead, Richard.
Yeah, because when it rains, the water is going to be, the leaves will be laden with water, and every little leaf doesn't direct away. There's lots of leaves that are facing the house. They're like little funnels. They'll push water right up against the house, and you can have a wet wall, can create molds, black mold. And again, if you have an older home and has any cracks in the foundation, this enables water to get down in there. It's best to important to keep shrubs away from the house at least 3.5 feet, and with proper location and design sense, and then keep them trimmed so that you don't have any water that's going to be laying up against the house with the leaves, because the leaves will hold and create funguses and molds.
Yeah. So you see my pergola, my
I
pergola
see.
that I am working on, and the the post is being cemented into the center blocks. But look, so I'm also
You have
planting
your diamonds.
flowers in the other areas to sort of absorb some of the water that may pool in the cinder blocks. Over here, I
Well,
can't remember what this plant was. I'm
that's a
looking for. I'll go right ahead.
the first one you showed was a dianthus, and it looks like that one. Can I see that picture a little closer of that one, please, Ramona?
Yep.
Not that one. That's a dianthus. That's a perennial. That's a pretty one
Okay,
too.
this one.
I think that is either a phlox, or it could be another variety of dianthus that should be setting its buds shortly.
Yes, I think it's a phlox. And then
Mhm.
this one over here is um I want to say it's a hibiscus.
Well,
I
I
think it
can't see
is.
it. I can't see it, Ramona.
I know because it doesn't have anything on it yet. It's just a root.
Uh,
But I
you
think
brought it
those
out of the house with me.
I think that was the hibiscus. Hold on. And here it is right here. Yep, it is a hibiscus.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they don't like cold weather. We did have some chilly nights, a couple nights ago. That if it did have any leaves on it, that could, sort of wilt them. But it wasn't freezing, so it should be okay. But
Right, but
just water.
I think these are hardy hibiscus. I think
Okay,
they
but
are. That's what I
uh,
asked.
okay, but if it gets freezing or cold, and if there's any wind chill or any wind blowing, you could still injure the leaves. But I think you'll be fine. Just a little Miracle Grow once every 3 weeks, and it'll bloom like crazy, and as long as it's in full sun.
Right, and it's pretty. It's pretty sunny out here. Um, but I used these baseboards, the paper bases to create a flat surface, but also the slope that was naturally built into the landscape is set up to draw the water away from the house.
Okay,
Um,
well,
if
that's
I can
good.
turn the camera, there we go. To draw the water away from the house so that I'm not gonna have issues with water going into my basement. I can honestly say I've been here going on 8 years and I've never had a water problem to date in my basement. Lord willing, knock on wood. And I've been working on doing everything I can to make sure that nothing is allowing water to sit up against or near the house and no areas pool against the house. That's why I like to plant a lot of flowers. But I know that when you are setting up your landscaping, you have to be very careful that, especially when you're building big structures like this, like the patio, that you're not creating scenarios where um you are forcing water to flow to your neighbor or to sit anywhere where the water is going to ultimately over time do damage.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
water will find a way.
Oh, it does. It'll find a way.
So I want
Yeah,
to put the phone number out there, 410-481-1010. If you have questions, I want to make comments or want to tell us about your garden, please give us a call. If you want to text to the office, you can text us at 443-660-7131. So let's say we want to put a deck up, right?
yes.
And we are preparing for that. We always focus on the aesthetics of it, how many layers we want, how many steps, you know what I mean? The beauty.
Yes.
But the other piece of that is how do we set it up so that we don't create a situation where there is dry rot and we don't create a situation where we end up causing more damage than good.
Well, it's important to grade the area under where the deck is going to be built first and create your positive drainage away from the house. So when it does rain after the deck's built, the water rolls away from the house. Or if there's if the flat area, you have to roll from the house out. If it's a little bit of an incline, you'd have to have the water diverted away from the house and also from either the right or left corner, depends on which way it slopes, and roll out to the side and to the front of your deck area.
Yes.
And what helps is putting down, and once that's all graded off, then it's important to put a fiber barrier down like a weed mat, but on a heavier one, more like cloth. And then either mulch it or put some type of hardscape stone, red tipple. It's a crushed stone, small little 3/4 of an inch stone. Depends on the aesthetics and the appointment colors of the house. There's red tipple, there's a white limestone, and there's all 57s, which are gray, that you can match up with your house. Or you can use small little riverjack stones, which are pretty. And then you don't have to worry about anything under the deck. Or like I just did a couple weeks ago, I did a bluestone patio under a deck because it was horrendous. It had no drainage. It was a mess. But after I finished, it was a pleasure to go there and sit. Well, because it looked nice.
So
It's
basically,
inviting.
you could sit on the deck or below the deck.
Correct.
And so you said degrading. Explain to us what degrading is.
No, I'm sorry. Maybe you misunderstood. You must grade it, not degrade it. It must be graded properly.
Be graded.
Yeah, be graded. Be
Okay.
Yeah.
Explain to us what that is.
Okay. Well, again, it's important to have the soil higher in the back than it is in the front, and about an inch and a half fall is good. An inch and a half, you know, if it's put a string line in the back, pull it to the front on a stake, and then put a line level on it. You can move the line level up or down. You move the line level up level, and you get a tape measure, and then you put the string at about an inch and a half, inch and a quarter or so, right on the line at your stake, and then you can tap it down if it needs to be tapped down, or you can pull the stake up a little bit, as long as you have at least an inch and a quarter, inch and a half fall away from the house, lower than the back.
Right.
What you need to do, and you either need, you might only need to use the soil that's there and just rake it and adjust it, because you might have to take something out, or if you need soil again, we do that all the time. We, you know, if we contract a job with someone like that, we'll bring the soil in, we'll regrade it and set all the levels, and then prepare it properly for you.
So, but let me ask you this, Richard, with doing that with the setup, so you created this beautiful patio underneath the deck, which is very exciting. I'm excited about that. But how is that maintained? Is that something that has to be, because I know with rain and runoff, you can have soil erosion, or if you're covering it, how often do you need to maintain that to make sure that the level of grading that you are creating is sustained over time?
Okay, well, if it's flat, you don't have to worry about it. You could border it with timbers, 6x6 timbers or 4x6 timbers, border it with that. And then that will keep anything from eroding underneath the area under the deck. Or if it has a slight slope, then where the upper side is, you know, where the upper side is, you can do a little modular wall, either with timbers or prefab type stone block, and put it on that side where the water would be sloping and rolling to the deck, and then put a fiber cloth on against the stone, and then just under the soil a little bit, and then grade it off. You don't want to see the fabric, but the fabric in front of the stone keeps any water that's pulling sediment in there. You don't want any sediment rolling between the joints of the stone and rolling into the deck. Just keeps things clean and neat, and that way you can design it and it can be properly installed so that the water will hit the stone and then roll along the sides. And if need be, we might have to put a drain in to collect the water to get it away from these different areas. But it's so many different scenarios. It's a
Right.
plethora of scenarios. So I would need to see the area, and I can give an estimate or inform someone what.
Okay, but to my question, oh, wait a minute, you went muted. You went muted. Unmute. It is this once you set it up, is this something that you need to come back every year to constantly maintain?
No, it's not necessary to maintain all that, because if it's installed properly, it can be there for 500 years. If I do it, I'm not a flat suit salesman, just confident with what I do. Been doing this 38 years. But if it's you put the weed mat down, you put different, whether it's red tipple, your 57s, white limestone or riverjack stone, it's important to put a cloth underneath there and put your stone on top to keep the stones from percolating down into the soil and the soil coming up, making it messy. You would have to put a pre-emergent periodically, maybe once a month. Can use preen to keep any weed seeds from germinating in between the stones. Or, we do little maintenance plans. We'll come in once a week or once a month, depending, and do a weed control for those kind of areas, which with very minimal affordable cost. And that's all the maintaining that you would need to do, just to make sure that it's kept from having weeds grow in there, because they'll grow in there.
And if the weeds get through, that will affect the integrity of whether or not you're keeping the water out.
Correct, yes, because if there's any trees or any large invasive type plants like pokeweed, which has a really large leaf like your dump cane, or any kind of vines, they could grow against the house and between, on the sides of the matting, or even through the matting, and someone doesn't clean it regularly, gosh, in 3 to 5 years, you're gonna have a mess under there, and that that can open, holes up in there and allow water to get through the mat and get into your house. So it's important just to keep everything, maintained and clean the proper ways.
Okay, well, look, we're gonna take a little break for station identification. When we come back, we're gonna talk about our pools. You talk about the pools and what we should do around them and what should go on under them. Okay, I'm talking about our above ground, not the in ground. Not everybody's fancy.
Doesn't matter. As long as the water, you can float a raft in there, that's all is necessary. Yeah.
That's right.
Water is water. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Ground, you'll still be able to float.
All right, we're going to take a break for station identification. This is Ramona Jones McClain, your insurance guru, and we'll be right back.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Thank you, Richard.
WOLB Baltimore and WERQ FM HD3 Baltimore, celebrating Radio 1's 42nd anniversary.
Our Radio 1 family, our employees, their family members, our listeners, our viewers, our extended family.
And serving the African American community for over 42 years.
The views and opinions of the guest and host you hear on 1010 WOLB
are not necessarily those of the staff and management of Radio 1, its sponsors, or advertisers.
As the road you travel changes, so can your insurance needs. Talking with Farmers Insurance agent Ramona Jones McClain can help you assess whether you're ready for the journey ahead. Call Farmers agent Ramona Jones McClain today at 443-660-7131. That's Ramona Jones McClain at 443-660-7131.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Hello, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McClain, your insurance guru. I am a farmer's agent located at 11707 Ricerstown Road in Ricerstown, Maryland. Here, you can call me at 443-660-7131 or listen to my show every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. on WOLB.
All right, you ready to go back live?
Mm-hmm.
All right, you're live in 3, 2, 1, whenever you're ready.
All right, DMV. This is Ramona Jones McClain, your insurance guru, and today we are still talking about April showers and being outside in our beautiful, beautiful yards with all the flowers, and changes that we make in and around our house. So, before the break, we were talking about structures and patios and things against the house and what you need to do in order to make sure that water does not pool. By the way, if you have a question or like to make a comment or tell us about what's going on in your yard, you can give us a call at 410-481-1010, or you can text us at 443-660-7131. And we will try to answer your questions. Oh, it looks like we do have a question. Wait a minute. All right, let me go back. Okay, it's a big question. Gee, wait a minute. Okay. Okay, when it comes to installing a dry well, is it recommended that you opt out for a large one, as it's always better to err on the side of a bigger one? These are just, okay. Is it better to get a large one or a smaller one? Do you know, Richard?
Okay, this is a dry well for your septic? For septic.
Yes.
Well, one thing that's important to find a reputable person who installs them, and then they would be able to guide you and recommend, what size you would need, but still, again, if there's only 2 people in the house and that's all it's going to be living there, you think for a while, a standard dry well would be fine, but if you have 5 children and a grandmother, I think you might want to step it up a little bit just to make sure that you have proper breakdown of materials and that goes into the ground and then properly installed. So that's a technical question that, there's a fine
Okay.
line there. Yeah. So that you would have to ask a qualified drywall installation person.
Okay. Okay, there's another question here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to decipher this. He says that my soil is hard and clay and water just sits everywhere. What can I do about this?
Okay, first thing, it would need to be tilled up and add some gypsum to it. Helps prepare the soil and organic compost material, and then fill that all in to the clay, and that'll condition it and then grade it off. But it would need to be tilled at least 6 to 7 inches deep, if not 8 inches deep.
Does he need to do that to the whole yard?
Not necessarily. It all depends on if he decides, and that would be exorbitantly expensive. I wouldn't say that would be necessary. Just in areas where he may want to do some gardens, maybe a vegetable garden, or if he has an area that just can't grow grass for anything, it would be, if it's a small area, maybe 20 by 20 or something like that, maybe a little bit bigger, it could be tilled up, but just still needs soil amendments added to it to break down the clay and then help it to breathe and be aerated so that when it does rain, the water can go seep into the ground, or if you have grass, that you'll be able to grow your grass. Or
Okay,
anything else you plant there.
okay. It looks like we have a caller by the name of Sadie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I had a question about decks. So I have a friend and she has a deck, but it's kind of like a low deck. And under the deck is like a mountain of grass. But when it rains on the side of her house, she has like pools of water. I wanted to know what she could do to fix that.
Well, again, that's the same scenario. Soil would be needed to be brought in to raise the grade, the level against the house, and then grade it away so that when it rains, the water doesn't pool and then it rolls away from the house. But I mean, there's so many different scenarios. If there's a huge hill behind it and it's all running to your house, or you're in a wooded area where it's very damp, or have a little bit of a slope. There's a lot of conditions.
What's
Go
the
ahead,
thing with her is
something
trees
like that.
around the house, but there's also like a hill that I guess is supposed to direct the water away. But if it directs the water away towards the hill, it will actually go into the neighbor's yard. So like now that I'm looking at it, there's nowhere for the water to go.
Well, if there's a way to put a drain system in in that area and lead the drain to the street area or an area away from your neighbor or somewhere where can go into your swale,
So there's a way
that
for
would
it
need to be
go.
done. Pardon?
So she has like downspouts near in the front of the house, but I don't think she has them in the back. And in the back is like a hill going downwards, but near her house, it goes the opposite direction and it like slopes the other way towards the house.
I understand.
So once it's, yeah.
You still wouldn't. I would still need to see it, and you may have to put an extension on the downspouts to divert the water away, at least to a way that's more where the water can roll. But I would still have to see the area. I've seen some areas like that. It's like, oh my gosh, the water is there. There's nowhere to grade it off, and the only way to get the water out of there is to dig a ditch from the house 4 feet deep to get positive drainage away from the house. There can be some really tough situations, but maybe it might not be that bad, but I would have to see it, and I could give you my proper recommendation, what we could do to try to rectify and help the problem.
But I do think the thing is that the sooner that they address it, the better. You don't
Correct.
want to recognize these things are happening and just let it keep going on year after year, because as we stated earlier, water will find a way. And if you allow it to sit and pool, it will do some damage, even when it seems docile.
Yes, yes. That one need to be addressed.
Okay.
Absolutely. So make sure she
Okay.
gets Rich's phone information. So Rich, we putting up a above ground pool
Okay,
in a flat area of the grass. So my concept would be to put down rubber matting or wood or something underneath, and then put rubber matting on top. What are you recommending? How do we
no, I
know?
wouldn't do that.
Okay, go
No.
ahead.
Go ahead, didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's okay.
First thing, the pool is going to be, once it's finally set, it's going to need to be at least 6 inches higher than their existing ground away. So that when people are splashing or you need to empty it or whatever, that your water is rolling away and not rolling underneath the pool. And the area needs to be graded and it needs to be tamped, and it needs at least a 5-inch layer of sand put underneath it, and then set the pool on top, because pool liner, you need something soft. What I put the sand, and you might want to put another layer of rubber, like a rubber liner, like a pool liner, on top of the sand and under your pool, just extra protection. But it must be graded. The grade should be higher, and you could have the sand coming away from the pool a little bit. You could use hardscaping, put weed mat down, and some type of stone, which is nice around there. I wouldn't use mulch, because people getting in and out of the mulch, and mulch is going to get on their feet, drag it in the house. They're going to bring it into the pool, things like that. I would use probably around the pool, the Riverjack red tipple, not Riverjack, the red tipple. Put the weed mat down, grade it off properly, and apply about a 2-inch layer of the red tipple all the way around. And you don't only need to go about 3-4 feet, and that's it. That'll make it pretty. It's aesthetically pleasing, have design sense, and then you'll take care of your pool.
And the red tipple is going to absorb some of the water that may be splashing off. Because
Yes,
that's
it will.
or what if the pool gets a hole in it and the water starts?
I
Yeah.
don't know. We're in trouble. Jeez. And the stone it's not going to absorb that much.
No, it's not. But so there's
Yeah.
no way. We just need to keep the pool protected. But for limit runoff, or what if it gets, we have a huge storm and the pool starts overflowing?
Well, then that's okay, because you have the pool higher, you have positive drainage away all the way around the edges. You have a red tipple stone weed mat underneath, and it'll just bleed out of the pool, run down the sides, go into the stone, and work its way out of the stone into the grass, and it'll be fine.
Okay. Okay, but
Nice and neat.
and when you're talking about grading it, we're not talking about as much of a grading as we did underneath the deck, because we don't want the pool leaning. We just
Correct.
talking about a half an inch per square foot of the pool ish.
Well, you need the area, once it's graded off, compacted, then the sand's applied, then I would compact the sand, and then I would level the sand perfect. The sand has to be perfect, so that when the pool is installed, your water level line on the pool is even. You don't want it tilted. It's like you drink on a tilted table, it's like
Right.
like this. It's on an angle. You want your pool water level to be even.
And
The
this
area
should keep,
would have to be, graded.
You should keep it safe so that you're not creating another water problem.
Correct. And make sure it's far enough away from the house so that you can properly adjust the grade all the way around from the house to the pool. So all water from the house, any water coming out of the pool is going to be draining away.
Okay. Okay. Well, anything that we did not discuss that you think we need to know when it comes to setting up our landscaping and our outdoor plan?
Well, just flowers are always great. Just cleaning out the gardens, making, get the debris out and planting flowers to add some color, maybe a few shrubs to upgrade the aesthetics, and also taking in consideration whether there's a lot of deer or any deer around there, because there's not really a whole lot of flowers that you can put there that the deer are not going to nibble. So if there's a lot of deer around there, I would recommend using marigolds, because deer don't like marigolds, and the marigolds come in yellow or orange or variegated orange and yellow. And I wouldn't go with their large pom-pom marigolds, because when they start to die away, they look ugly as sin, and you have to deadhead them. They're a mess. The little pincushion ones are much easier. So, if you have a shady area, ferns are pretty. Japanese painted ferns, which is beautiful. Cinnamon ferns. Also, the autumn fern, which has some sort of orangey burgundy leaves that come out on it. Astilbe is pretty. Deer don't seem to be bothering astilbe too much, like in the shady areas, woods with a lot of deer. In sunny areas, you can certainly plant any kind of flower as long as you don't have deer. Deer in this area just are getting worse and worse. It's a problem. But definitely flowers around the house, and they absorb water too, and that's what you can do to beautify your gardens.
So did we understand that, audience? Gardens are good, not just aesthetically, but they help to absorb and pull water away from the house. We just have to make sure the slope is correct, the grade is correct, and we keep them cleaned out and refreshed on an annual basis. And yes, that requires some work. But I did have a question that came in. Sandra said, what about a pond with fish?
Well, I install ponds and waterfalls. Yes, that would be beautiful, and it upgrade the aesthetics of the house and also your resale value. We install them according to budget, 5x7 or freeform or larger 10x12. We always install a multi-cascade waterfalls with the pond, biological filter, a UV light that burns a single cell algae that floats in the water, and that'll keep your pond crystal clear, with also adding an Acris, which is a oxygenator, which is placed in the bottom, and you can put water lilies in it, water lotus, and landscape it all around the sides. And then we also add the fish, and we do maintenance and keep up the opening and closing once a year or twice a year.
Do you have to replace the fish every year? Do they survive?
No, they survive and just keep on growing. Just feed them and enjoy them.
Okay.
And we also do lighting.
And when you're looking to do this, what's the distance away from the house that this needs to be?
Well, I would go at least 4 feet. If you have to put it close to the house, the further away the better, because then we can get to where some sun is. And we design it so that it's incorporated an area around your deck or your patio so that you can view it properly, and also go out there and maintain it and take care of it. You don't want to right up against the house.
No, and with respect to water issues and the pond, what should we keep in mind as far as making sure? Because when we have those big rains in April, the first thing that happens is the little streams and the little rivers that flow behind our house, they start overflowing.
Yes. We design the ponds so that there's proper drainage. So when the pond gets full and it leaks, it drains away from the house and away from the pond. We take care of that, all that, some taking consideration.
Okay, so that means a pond is not impossible in
No,
your
it's not.
backyard.
No,
And it creates upgrade value to the property. It is a wonderful aesthetic presentation, and it is not in jeopardy of damaging or creating an issue as long as it's well maintained.
correct.
And it does need to be maintained. How frequently?
Once a year in the spring to open it up, or once in the fall to close it up.
Okay. And when you say open it up, what does that mean?
We clean out all the debris and leaves in there, pressure wash it, clean the filter on UV light. Then we place the fish back, put the proper treatments back in the water, and then start filling it up, place the fish in there, to set everything up properly, and do any primping around the garden, around the pond.
And then what do you do when you close it up in the fall?
Basically, same thing. But in the fall, we'll stretch a net across it to keep the leaves out.
Okay. Okay. All right, Richard, please give the audience your information on how they can reach and find you, and anything you want to leave us with before you go.
Okay, my name is Richard Thompson, Prairie View Landscaping. It's Praie, View Landscaping, 443-465-4951. 443-465-4951. I've been doing my landscape and design work for 38 years. I love what I'm doing. I'm a sculptor and an artist and craftsman, so I love doing this, and that's about all I can say right now. It's just that flowers and ponds and beautifying the gardens, it's uplifting and soothes the soul and makes the spirit healthy. So not only are you keeping water out of your house and then taking care of your house, you're also beautifying your gardens. So when you come outside and sunny day, looking at the color, how pretty it is, so that's all positive, and it's actually healthy for you.
That's right.
That's important.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Oh, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
No, just to say we thank God for everything, and that we're able to move and do these things and get out in the garden and enjoy all the beauty that He has supplied.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us today, Richard. It is always wonderful to have you on. This is one of my favorite shows because I love to be outside.
Yes, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes, sir. So listen, we are wrapping up for the month of April, talking about April showers. We've been talking about water all month long and what you need to do to protect your house and to create an environment that is wonderful to live in, whether it was from backup sewer and drainage, or last week we talked about flood coverage, and this week about landscaping and the grounds around your property. That and all of these things are important to maintain the value and or the health of where you live, and also to do your due diligence. One of the things that we talked about last week, when there is a claim, there is a water claim, is did you do what was necessary proactively to eliminate any damage from occurring or any further damage that may occur. These are all minor things that, if maintained routinely, can be not expensive and can keep you safe in your home for years to come. And it's just little small things, from cleaning out your downspouts and your gutters to making sure that when you plant your gardens, that the water flows away from the house, to making sure that you, when you're doing big projects, that you bring a professional in like Richard, who is able to set things up so that everything is done safely in a manner that does not allow water to eventually seep into your basement. Because we know, based on our first show of this month, that any water coming in through the cracks of foundation may be considered earth movement and is not covered by your insurance company. And it's important that you understand your insurance policy and understand what things you can do up front to make sure that if something does happen, that you are covered and that you have the policy in place to do that. What are we going to talk about next month? Well, we shall see. We are still working on next month and what we're going to do and what we're going to talk about. But whatever it is, we talk about all things insurance and we help you. We use terms and jargons and scenarios and real life situations to help you understand how insurance can help your financial situation and create a situation where you are becoming more financial savvy when it comes to what should be covered and how it should be covered. I do believe we may have a sponsor coming on, a car dealership. So next month may be all about auto insurance. I know that we're going to do a show with regards to the craziest accident that you've been involved in. So if you got, my listeners, if you got a crazy accident scenario, get it ready. Be ready to call in and tell us about it so we can talk about what we need to do, how it should be done, how it should be set up, and what you can do the next time, hope preferably not, you are in one of these situations. We are going to talk a lot about auto insurance because rates are changing and the rates are increasing and going up. And there's not a whole lot we can do about it. I know that there are a lot of customers that have a lot of concerns and want to make some comments and some commentary on what is going on with the auto insurance market. Well, I believe we're going to try to talk about that. And maybe we may not have any answers, but we will give you a platform for those who do make the decision to hear and to express the impact of what is happening in our market, in our economy right now with automobile insurance, both personal and commercial. But if you have questions or would like for us to review your specific insurance needs, you can always give us a call at 443-660-7131. In our office, there are 3 producers and 2 CSRs, and we are here to assist you and guide you and direct you in what you should be doing and helping you to find something that's within your budget. I do appreciate all of the phone calls that we got in reference to last month when we were talking about life insurance. We are still going through appointments and inquiries that came in about life insurance. If you still have questions regarding your life insurance or would like for us to review your policies, please do not hesitate to contact us. We are still scheduling people in order to get through the number of people that called during that time. And again, our phone number is 443-660-7131. If you would like to come by the office, we're located at 11707 Reisterstown Road in Reisterstown, Maryland. And we are there usually most days from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. except on Fridays, we close at 6, and on Saturdays from 11 to 3. We are also still doing tag and title services. So if you need to get tags for your vehicle, if you don't want to go to MVA, we are in the office. We are providing this service to you and is available to you. I want to thank my audience for listening and thank you so much, Richard, for being here.
Thank you.
And we'll have you back on in the fall when we're talking about shutting down our garden for the winter.
There we go. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So listen, everybody, this is Ramona Jones McClain. I am your insurance guru. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again next week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.